All right, so teamwork is often credited with many benefits for students and for instructors. But those of us who've used or been a part of them, which is probably all of us, we know that we don't always see these benefits in reality. My name is Micah Modell, and I'm a professor at Mount St. Mary College. And for years, I've been looking at this problem with my team. That's Marin Youssef, Allison Espana, and Dennis Rodriguez, none of whom were actually able to join me today for this presentation. Today, I'm going to share some of the progress that we've made towards a means for addressing some of these problems. To set the stage, I love to bounce my ideas off of other people to gain a fresh perspective on them. I really love having a team that I can ask for help when I need it. And quite frankly, I often need it. I love being able to tackle bigger problems and get them done faster than I could alone, even if I already had all of this, the requisite skills. As you are probably well aware, educators across fields use teams for the same reasons, plus one more, and that is that business employs teams, and they want students that are good team or they want graduates that are good team citizens. Basically, they want employees that can work effectively with their teammates, grow their skills by observing and helping others, and synthesize diverse perspectives into innovative approaches to their work. However, while we might dream of this, we're often met with students who report a suboptimal experience. Maybe this is familiar. It's the end of the semester, and one team member is, sorry, that was a little early. One team member reports that while he and some colleagues have been working hard on one of their team members hasn't been carrying their fair share of the load. Or maybe the one with all the skills keeps getting handed more and more of the work because, they're so capable. Or others of us will feel oppressed by a dominating personality. In fairness, I'm afraid I've probably been that dominating personality on more than one occasion. Working with other people always complicates things, and it isn't expected to make things easier, but it should make the process and the outcomes more rewarding. And as educators, we should be equipping our students with the skills to navigate these situations when they arise so they can reap these rewards. But what's actually going on inside of those teams? Sure, some will come to us with complaints, and we'll probably even have reason to believe that they're telling us the truth, or at least their truth. But is that the whole story? By design, there are multiple perspectives manifest in that team, right? So what should we do? Well, there are lots of various solutions out there. And what you see on this slide is just a few of them. Reflective journal entries, peer evaluation, various forms of combinations of peer and self-evaluation. I've even seen methods and policies around teammate firings. I've tried a bunch of these, although in fairness, not the teammate firing piece, because they seemed to be very promising. And it wasn't until the end of the semester that I started to see the problems creep in, right? It starts off pretty good, but then you start running into some issues. In some cases, you're left with lots and lots of qualitative data to sift through and make sense of. Reflective journals are great in practice, and they offer myriad opportunities for student growth, but the quality levels vary, as do the topics they cover. If students are evaluating themselves or their teammates, when are they doing it, and what criteria are they using? Are they using criteria that actually have a bearing on team dynamics? Or is it a popularity contest? Or maybe some hybrid? And finally, at the end of the day, it's his word against hers, with very little time to get the full story, especially if it's at the end of the at the end of the semester, much less actually do anything meaningful about it. This last piece specifically left me deeply unsatisfied. until I found this one article by two Australian architects, Tucker and Reynolds, and they decided to administer self and peer assessment on a weekly basis. Everyone would rate themselves and their teams, meaning their teammates, every week. I can't say they're the first to have done this. I'm really not sure, but they are the first that I found, and that were doing it. And for me, it really clicked. As a result, I built Colab, and you can use this this QR code to access it, which is a web-based collaboration. Sorry, which is a web-based collaboration support platform, which offers self and peer assessment. I'm still working on the landing page and the tutorials, so reach out to me if you want a demo. Colab focuses on presenting instructors with a comprehensive picture of group health over the course of a semester to help instructors guide students throughout the semester. Students get an email each week to tell their instructors the levels at which their teammates contributed to the functioning of the group. And students are asked to tell what they saw along multiple behavioral dimensions. Importantly, the zero-sum setup focuses on group dynamics and not individual performance. If I try to reward my best friend, Janice, it takes away from the rest of the team, including me. Once they're happy with the report, they hit submit, and then instructors can see this data visualized. And this is pretty much what that all looks like, right? Over here on the left, you see the entry form, and when one of those sliders goes up, the others have to go down, and vice versa. And then once they've submitted, and you can see that there are multiple different dimensions there. And then once you've submitted it, that data is captured, and I can chart it on, or I can look at it on a set of reports, looking at each team. So lots of people are doing peer evaluation, and there's much written about group dynamics and all that. There were lots of papers with experienced educators who were drawing upon their vast experience, some of whom had co-designed dimensions with their students. Some of these were clearly specific to a particular project, and most really had as their goal offering a grade at the end of the project, or a mechanism for assigning a grade at the end of the semester or at the end of the project. In short, I found many sets of dimensions, but I couldn't find anything that was rigorously derived, or a rigorously derived list of the different ways a student can contribute to the productive functioning of a team. So that's where this study comes in. And what we've done is we've performed a literature review specifically looking for measures of how a team and its teammates are interacting together in order to provide the instructor with insight using the mechanisms that I showed you before, in order to see what's actually going on inside of those teams, so that the instructor can intervene as the team is performing, rather than simply handing down some kind of a punishment at the end of the semester. So the approach began with a literature review, and this really started with my dissertation while I was still in graduate school. I used basically a snowball effect. I read what I read for my dissertation, and then I continued reading, and we know how that goes. It was informal to start, but then I started distilling out a set of search terms and further snowball off of that. And I ultimately wound up with 112 sources spanning 1948 to 2017. 2017 is when this data set shrank, and I'll return to that in a minute. Out of all of those, out of that 112 sources from 1948 to 2017, I wound up with 1,186 items, right? These are 1,186 distinct or items that were in some kind of a measurement setup. the next step in the process was to fill out, to remove any duplicates, right? We also wanted to make sure that we filtered out anything that was specific to an individual project. Like, let's say it was a software development project, and one of the items on there might be checking in code to the software repository. Well, that's not going to happen really well on a research project. So we wanted to filter those sorts of things out and really make it project agnostic and content agnostic, and really focusing specifically on the team dynamics. We wanted to filter out anything that was focused on individual performance, because we're looking at the teams as being more of an emergent property rather than just the sum of its parts. Which is, what we all aim for with these group projects. So really focusing on something that would be meaningful in the group context, not just in the context of the individual. We don't want something that is focused on an organization. I was looking at a lot of business literature, and it sort of, not just going micro, but also went macro. And so I wanted to filter those things out as well. And then finally, we wanted to remove anything that couldn't actually be observed in some way, because this was intended to be practical and applied. And that cut us down to 92 sources with only 1,010 items. And then we went through a series of rounds of card sort, where we would split up this deck and each take that home and do a card sort, looking for emergent themes, right? Building this out. And then we came back together and argued for which theme was most meaningful, how it was most meaningful, how we would apply it, and then how we might aggregate them together, and then documented all of those results. The first one resulted in 22 themes altogether. And then ultimately we recombined those materials, then resplit it up and did another round, right? And we kept going through that. So hopefully, the goal there was to make sure that we were all hitting a large mix of these cards with each round. And by the sixth sort, we had determined 6 themes, which I'm going to get to in a moment, and then 3 areas of substantial overlap. So those 6 dimensions, the main result is 6 dimensions that clearly emerged from the literature. They seem to be comprehensive as per our review of the literature, and they seem to offer the potential for giving us insight into team dynamics, regardless of the project itself or what the content of the project itself is. I've not yet launched them and used them in a class, but I do expect that they will work well. Language may need to be workshopped with more descriptions, and that's another project entirely, which I'm also having in progress. But this does seem very promising. As you can see here, we've got 6 dimensions, which are basically progress towards task completion, which would be sort of like getting the actual work done. If the fence needs to be painted, this would be the time of actually painting that fence. The second one is facilitating free flow of ideas, which is sort of encouraging creativity, allowing for brainstorming, putting out there, their own ideas, and making it comfortable for other people to suggest their ideas. This third one is involved in skill augmentation behavior, which is both requesting help and offering help, right? And making it comfortable for people to grow their own skills. Develops and implements strategy, which in earlier versions of this was more called organizing. And it's really about trying to make sure that people are on task, that we actually have a plan, and that we are following that plan to get to wherever we're going. Regardless of how much plan the team is actually doing, who is driving that, right? Number 5 is considers alternate approaches or perspectives, which is in some ways similar to number two, but we didn't see a whole lot of crossover there. And I'll get to that in a moment as well. But really somebody who's embracing alternative perspectives. Whereas number two is a little bit more just about communicating, not necessarily new ideas. And then number six is contributing towards understanding the goals or the requirements. And that's kind of about, trying to figure out where you need to go. Where are we trying to get to? We did another round of sorting after the sixth sort. And in this one, we specifically encouraged crossover grouping. Some of the things kind of defied placement, and they were really difficult for us, and we were trying really hard to place them, and we recognized this. And so then in this last sort, the seventh sort, we decided to embrace that and look for the ones that maybe were split between them. And you can see those here. Further analysis indicates that these reflect sort of the interrelatedness of activities. For example, the largest number, and only 22, right? And remember, this is 10 items in the beginning. So this is not a huge number, but there was the largest number was found with 1 and 6, and these both relate to a focus on the specific tasks at hand, right? One might argue that it would be quite difficult to make progress towards task completion, which is number one, if one isn't yet clear on what the goals of the project are, which would be number 6. Similarly, communicating ideas is likely to result in helping others to grow with and develop and actually performing a task offers the practice that would develop those skills. We think that these are both unavoidable and acceptable because there's going to be some overlap here. Here we see the implementation in progress. These are the same images as before, but they've just been launched into the Colab online system, where we intend to test them. Until now, I've been leaning on a set of dimensions from an article by Goldfinch and Rayside that was based upon their own experience and some input from students in the classroom. I'm eager to try out this new set, and I'm running the final tests on that software now. Actually, I finished the tests on that, and it's actually live at the moment. I do want to point out a few limitations before, if we have time, before we move into showing you that system itself. But one of the limitations is that my team and I, we're all researchers, but I'm also the instructor in the room, and I fear the possibility that they will tend to defer to me, and I would love to have outside perspective on these items, and to do another round of sorting where I don't have the most power in the room. The second piece of it is I was actively searching for materials through 2017, and then working through this process for a variety of reasons. I would love to continue that search and see if there's anything new. I think that this is actually rather comprehensive based upon my knowledge of the literature, but I would still like to I still have to acknowledge that it is only through 2017, and there might be some new stuff since then. My wish list at this point is I'd like to look at families of instruments. A lot of these things are derived from one another, and I would love to take that into account. I'd love to use some of the emerging AI tools to help with this categorization. That was actually a path that I was going down, and I started that in 2017 and kind of got lost along the way. Validation in the field, that's the piece that I was just talking to you about. And then finally, refinement of the language. These are the initial versions of the language, but they need to be workshopped with real people. And finally, I don't want to take up, I don't want to go too much past the 8:20 moment. So I just want to say that I would love your help, and you can reach out to me at my email address, or you can go to collab.online in order to see the site there. So I'm going to open it up to questions now, and I can show a demo of the materials if people would like, but I'd like to open up to questions first. And I was recently told that you should wait 8 seconds when you open up a question. All right. In that case, I'm going to go ahead and move over to this window. This is the live system. If you go to collab.online, this is actually oh, sorry, there is a question. I am wondering if the tool is available. Yes, it is. Thank you, Hillary. So Hillary asks, I'm wondering if the tool is available to use for other educators. Yes, it is. This system is live. However, you do need my help in order to get it started. Basically, you need to reach out to me, and I would need to create an account for you. I haven't put in sort of auto, I deliberately did not set it up so that you could create your own account, mostly because I'm still working on a lot of the tutorials on that, and I think that that would just be misery for you. It's not difficult, and I can show it. It's just, yeah, absolutely, please. And I'll put my name, my email here as well. And I have had other instructors using this. It's been used at this point at, I want to say 7 institutions, but I'd have to get back to you with that because I just have to get back to you on that. So what we're looking at here, this is basically, so students would see, would get an email, and it would ask them to come in and do their self and peer assessment. And they would come in here. This is the icon for the self and peer assessment. They would click it, and these are the latest versions of them. And they would come in and say, let's say, facilitates free flow of ideas. Actually, no, I'm going to do develops and implements strategies, which is sort of the organizing one. And I'm going to say, I was awesome on that one this week, right? And so I put that up. And when I do that, all the other ones have to go down. And I was spending a lot of my time keeping Roberta on track or on task. And then maybe we're going to go over to facilitates free flow of ideas. And on this one, this is where we start realizing that a large part of the reason why I was so organized and so focused on strategies, because I really didn't know a whole lot about what was going on. And so a lot of these other people were sort of picking up the slack for me. Then we look to contributes towards understanding goals and requirements. And here, I didn't understand anything that was going on. So they really were carrying me there. And then we come into something like considers alternate approaches, which is sort of being creative about new possibilities. And again, I had no idea what was going on, but this is where Roberta was shining. She was kind of bouncing off the walls. That's why I was focusing on keeping people in line. And it was mostly her because she was just overflowing with ideas. And this gives us the opportunity to really reflect all of the different ways that people can contribute. Then you'd hit submit. And then I'm going to go over here. This is actually an instructor view. And these are some of so all of the data is automatically anonymized, and I've turned on those anonymization elements. These are all old. This is all historical data, and so these are using older dimensions, and these are the dimensions. But you can see these are different charts that that are generated and that I've been using in order to see what's going on. So with a team like this, I'm looking at it and thinking, yeah, they're pretty much okay, right? They started off a little bit rocky, that's normal, and a little bit of ups and downs throughout the semester, but pretty much doing okay. Maybe there was a deliverable there causing some stress, but pretty much okay. This one, on the other hand, is having some problems, right? And if you read into it, so the yellow dots basically say, hey, even though, and in the classroom, I tell them that I don't want them to write in comments because then I feel like I have to read them. But I put it out there and they put it in, and the yellow dots make it so that it draws my attention and I can go in and read it. And if you read through it, you would see that things like this are basically saying Denise and Joyce were not doing their jobs. And so if I come in here and I turn off everybody except for Denise and Joyce, I can see that it's Denise and Joyce down here on the bottom. Now, at this point, I'm probably thinking, okay, that's 1 week. Let's see what happens. Week 2, I'm starting to get concerned. Maybe I'm sending some emails. Week 3, I'm reaching out to this team and trying to offer support to help them get back to good, right? And the nice thing about that is that I don't have to wait until the end of the semester when the only thing I can do is punish them. Any further questions? And I'm more than happy to go through a more in-depth demonstration of the system. It offers other functionality as well, but I figured I'd put this out there.